You know, I've been thinking a lot lately, like really, really a lot. I've lived in New York for many, many years. I got to New York about the time of the Andy Warhol factory. I've been part of the counterculture, underground art, underground musicians, very attracted to the creative side of New York City. However, the first 18 years of my life were spent in a very small West Virginia town called Raynell. Raynell was a town of about 1,200 people. It was 13 blocks long and 3 avenues wide. We knew every person in town and every person knew me. I couldn't act up downtown in the dime store in the movie because before I would get home from the dime store or the movie, somebody had already called my mother, Hilda May, who carried a big switch, and I had to go pick it off the lilac bush. Baby boy, go and get your switch. You can take all the time you want, but sooner or later you got to bring it back to Mama. Mama's going to give you a little lick on the back of your legs 3 times. The thought of it scares me. Anyway, something happened. It was the first aha moment of my life that something ain't right. And I knew everyone that was in the first grade with me because we were all, we all were playmates. We went to a couple of churches, so we grew up together. There was one black family, the Mosley family. They had a number of kids, I don't remember how many, but there was one of the Mosley children was my age. So it was the first grade, but I looked around and Mickey Mosley wasn't in the class. And I said to Miss Maynard, "Miss Maynard, yes, Colin, where's Mickey Mosley?" And she sort of had this blank look on her face, like, and I thought, is she going to tell me that there's something wrong? She said, "Mickey doesn't go to this school." I said, and here I am 6 years old. And I said, "What do you mean Mickey doesn't go to this school? This is the only school in town." She said, "Well, Mickey goes to a different school." I said, "Well, why?" So she didn't want me asking this question. I think this is probably, she didn't want to answer this question in front of the other 59, were 59 of us, all the way from the first grade through the 12th. She said, "Ask your parents when you get home." So I get home and I ask my mother, Hilda May, I go, "Mama," "Yes, baby boy," she said, "Mickey Mosley doesn't go to our school." She said, "Yes, I know." I said, "Well, why doesn't Mickey Mosley go to our school? And is he going to school? And if so, where is it? I thought there was only one school in Raynell." She said, "There is one school in Raynell, but Mickey goes to another school. It's over in Lewisburg." Lewisburg was 30 miles away. I said, "Well, why is he going to a school in Lewisburg?" And she said, "He's black." Now, she said this to a 6-year-old. I said, "What does that mean?" "Well, black people don't go to the same schools white people go to." Now, this was all at the same time that I'm being taught about Christianity, that you must accept Jesus Christ as your Savior or you're going to burn in hell. So I said to my mother, "Mama, she called them savages." I said, "Well, do the savages know about Jesus?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, Mama, does that mean that they're going to burn in hell?" She said, "If they don't accept Jesus Christ as their Savior, by golly, they're going to burn in hell. How are they going to hear about Jesus?" And this was her answer: "It's up to them." I said, "You know what? There's something not right." Well, as time went on, the government stepped in and said, that we couldn't have racial division. But early in my life, I remember, I would watch all these things, George Wallace, and I remember a little black girl who was surrounded by Secret Service or whatever they were, walking her into school as they yelled racist, racial things at this little girl. And I said, "This isn't right." I've gone all the way through my life, especially in the 60s, as I entered adulthood and was in Cleveland and having the time of my life, hanging out at the art museum at what we call Love-Ins and dancing at the Flair, dancing with Big Mama, who was really a drag queen. I remember one night we were dancing to Boogaloo down Broadway, and Big Mama's wig went sideways like that. One eyelash came up on her forehead, and what was that song? Tell It Like It Is, which was my first romantic dance. Chooch came over. Oh, Chooch, I'll never forget Chooch. Chooch came over and said, "Can I have this dance?" And I said, "Yes, you can. What is your name?" And I loved all this, like this dramatic, and just the craziness of it all. And I got caught up into this, liking creative, different people that push the envelope. They seem to be having more fun than the people who weren't pushing the envelope. It was the late 60s, and the U.S. Army came into Cleveland because they were starting to have race riots. Cleveland is divided by public square. To one side is the east side, to the other side is the west side. The west side in those days was predominantly white, and the east side was where I would say the highest percentage of black people in the greater Cleveland area lived. In the U.S., there started to be some fires. I mean, it was rage, and I understand where the rage was coming from, because so many of these people were just left out. So I understood it, and I was on their side. So I and a group of other like-minded white kids, we were like 20, 21, formed a human chain across Public Square, blocking the U.S. tanks. We were like Tiananmen Square before there was Tiananmen Square. We were arm in arm, and the tanks came right up to us, but they didn't plow through us. Downtown Cleveland just dried up and blew away. Suburban people didn't go into the city. As people became a little more affluent, they moved further and further and further out until they were out of the city limits, starting the bleeding of an American city, a once great American city, leaving the city limits just a dead carcass where only the poorest people in the greater Cleveland area, the people who could not afford to move out, were left behind. I had a business in Cleveland, so I had to give it a lot of thought, because it was going to require that I sell my business, sell my house, and start all over again. But I was still young. I was in my 30s, and I did it. I came to New York. I've been here ever since, and looking back, it's the best thing I ever did. I have had the most wonderful experiences that I could ever have had anywhere else. I love this city. But lately, I'm starting to think, what was that all about? You know, I was there for the riots. I was there. We had our own version of Stonewall in Cleveland. We had women's rights. Gloria Steinem was just up the road a piece from Toledo. She came to Cleveland. But somehow or another, the Cleveland police hear about this kid playing with a gun in the park, and they come in and they shoot him. They don't ask him anything. They don't say anything. They drive into Coudell Park. They get out of the car and they shoot the kid. Dead. I happened to have been in Cleveland that day because it was also on my birthday. And there were about 100 protesters, sort of like blocking a highway out of town. And that was about it. Eric Holder came to Cleveland, talked to the mayor. That was about it. I haven't seen much reaction. And somehow people seem to think Tamir Rice asked for what he got. And I said, something's not right. Something is not right. What happened to what my generation did? What did we fight for that 50 years later we seem to be further back than we were when we started? I mean, some people, like especially us New Yorkers, think of New York as its own country, where the individual differences are celebrated rather than separated, where we really like the differences in people. I can't remember of any venue or any house party I've been to in the last 30 years that didn't have a whole array of people. white people, black people, straight people, gay people, bisexual people, Muslim people, Jewish people, people from every country I can possibly imagine. And this is what I've gotten used to. To me, this is normal. You know, walking on the streets and people respecting one another. But recently, something truly devastating happened that I can't believe has happened in the United States of America. The state of Indiana passed a law that expanded the Freedom Religious Act, whatever the official name is, but anyway. And then this governor gets on national television after he's criticized, and he says it's the same bill that Clinton and Obama signed. So here's this very conservative man saying about liberals, well, it's the same bill they signed. Well, if it's the same bill they signed, why do you have to sign it? If it's already in place, why do you have to create a new? Oh, there's one slight difference. The bill that Clinton and Obama signed gave us the freedom of religion to observe safely in the United States of America the choice of being able to recognize and worship the way we choose to. Which means if your religion, like a lot of Orthodox Jews, close their businesses on Saturday, that means that if I want something from a store that an Orthodox Jew operates, and he's closed his store for Saturday to observe his religious rules, then that's fine with me, and that was fine with Clinton, and that was fine with Obama. But when his store is open, and it's open Sunday through Friday, which is very common in New York City, they cannot refuse to sell their goods or services to me based on whatever, because they're in business to sell goods or services. But in Indiana, we have a different little add-on, that now the freedom of religion includes, if you don't like the religion of this person, if you don't like the lifestyle of this person, if a gay couple asks you to bake a wedding cake, if a gay couple asks you to bake a pizza, you now have the right to refuse to bake the pizza or bake the cake. And somehow Governor Pence of Indiana thinks this is okay. Apparently a lot of people think this is okay because this pissant town in Indiana has received almost $1 million in crowdfunder funds, which means contributions from people that support that. And people in Indiana say, don't hold this against us. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Who would I hold it against? And yes, I do hold it against you. I resent this, that in my lifetime, we have worked so hard to push this country forward, to include all people, not just some of the people, because that's what we did back then. Why, in 2015, in my lifetime, have we reached a point in our society where it is okay to leave a large part of our population out? Well, it's not okay. It's not okay to say that I have the right to turn you down because you have black hair and I only serve blonde-headed people. All in all, we outnumber the rest. But if we don't vote, trust me, they're going to go out and vote. They're going to redistrict areas so that they make sure they get the vote. You had better pay attention, because a dark day will come, you will notice it then, and it will be too late. Anyway, I'm still not sure what happened to Mickey Mosley. I don't know where he is. I know he did come to our school, but by that time he was scared, he was reclusive. So as much of a shock as I had in the first grade, I'm certain it was a bigger shock to Nikki.